Let's look at some spiritual qualities of empathy. From the New Testament, we learn we must be kind. We put on kindness like sinking into a garment. Kindness is a grace, and the royal robe we wear carries with it the expectation of the royal behavior of kindness. But we must be touchable. Jesus was deeply moved when he saw his friend weep, and Jesus wept with her. He was going to raise Lazarus up, yet he allowed himself to be touched by her pain. We must be humble in this sense. We are all in this together. Humility washes the other's feet even while being betrayed, being not out for personal interests alone, but also for the interests of others. This kingly attitude, which was in Christ, is an expectation of his royal family. We must be on Jesus' side to stay in the river of grace and to be helped in the time of need. If we are hurt or wounded by something because of love being involved, we know we are on his side. Knowing God includes knowing what hurts God and siding with him. So we must be a worshiper. Simon didn't notice Jesus' dusty feet at all, but Mary washed them with her tears, pouring expensive oil on them, and wiped them with her hair. Simon missed the intimate connection forged by empathy's reach. Her lavish worship was a response to his lavish love. And we must be equal to. We are at the same time recipients and dispensers of the grace we have received. Through empathy, we become equal to others, just like Christ did for us. And so we can reach out and connect in order to dispense. And we must be willing to connect, accepting one another, just as Christ accepted us, becoming all things to all people, so that we may by all means reach some. Close proximity allows us to form a connection, an alliance dynamic, which is powerful and healing to many human conditions. We must be obedient to know love like Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for others. If we close our hearts, we close them off to love. Love is active and integral to the reach of empathy. We cannot reach if we do not love. We cannot love without empathy. The alabaster box was broken and spilled out in an act of worship, and we too must be generous. But how can we be generous if we do not possess abundance? When we feel the other's pain, how they deeply struggle, we can be generous in spirit, having obtained grace without measure ourselves, so we can afford it. We must be open, like when Jesus saw Mary, he truly saw her. Openness means allowing the other to narrate their world and woundedness from their own unique perspective. We have ears to hear, and ears which hear are open. We must be servant hearted too, not focusing on how expensive the oil was. And the truth is, what he gave her by comparison was priceless. He invested in her, and she had seen him too. She reflected him deeply as she broke and spilled out a beautiful pictograph of Jesus pouring out his life for us all. We must be in relationship like Mary and lead a surrendered life. Once she knew Jesus, she became a close follower. Their empathic friendship was seen as he wept with her, raised her brother up, and told her she had chosen the better portion. She was among the first to know he had risen. Empathy goes beyond the superficial. And I must be faithful. When Jesus asked his disciples in the garden to stay with him, he was asking them to continue to be present and to endure with him. There's something eternal in choosing to remain connected. Being faithful to God, his spirit is alive in me. His grace is flowing through me toward the other. So I must be generous spirited. He taught us to love when he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for each other, having more than enough and equal to the task in front of me. One of the graces of God is continuous strengthening, which occurs as we practice generosity of spirit through the empathic connection. And I must be an intercessor. There's no greater love than to lay down our life for a friend. So I must advocate and stand in the gap when the other is incapable or too weak to advocate on their own behalf. An empathic tribute is to shoulder the other's troubles. I must be one who comes alongside. And so I must be a healer. If I am loved and set apart for service, I must have a compassionate heart. Through empathy comes compassion, and compassion has the power to heal. I'm a conduit for healing to flow through me. With the awareness of compassion comes the opportunity for healing to take place. Neuroscience states to be attuned to the other provides synchronicity, often accompanied by somatic empathy. Wiring and firing together has the potential to pull upwards, to model and rehearse better ways of thinking, feeling, and choosing. Attunement becomes the glue of connection. To be positive improves mental health and physical well-being. A theory of mind and intentional use of mirror neurons can create a more positive affect, reflecting back and forth the story and the reframe. Intentional use of empathic positivity in a clinical setting can activate motor neurons, even generating a true Duchenne smile. To be present is a wonderful gift, like reflective listening. Paying special attention to emotions, looking for cues from underlying core beliefs, identifying unconscious mechanisms, and reflecting them back causes movement in the therapeutic. Eye gazing rewires synchronous neurons to return and build upon new pathways. So to be magnetic is to cooperate with the pull, like percolation in the soil moves upwards. Jesus sees us as perfect as we were before the fall and raises us up. Cooperating with spiritual empathy magnetizes us, and others are drawn upwards into greater health. God in us draws people through us toward relationship with Him.